This conference will now be recorded.
Sriram, are we waiting for someone? Because there are only 13. Um, so I thought there should be at least 20, 21. Are we waiting for someone? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I think he left, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, Sriram, guys, please talk, huh? Because I don't know whether I'm connected or not. If you
No,
guys
you're
speak.
connected, sir. You're connected actually. Yeah, we are able to
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, cool. So Sriram has left, not a problem. Let's start. I'm sharing my screen and the recording is on. All right. So we actually
Yeah, sorry,
optimize,
sir. Here
right?
signal is not. So please continue, sir.
No, Sriram, I was just asking because I'm seeing only 13 participants. Hence, I was asking you whether you're waiting for someone.
Right, sir. Please start. I am checking with others. Here signal is not good, sir. I joined from mobile. Please start. We'll share the recording.
Okay.
Okay.
So actually, we were discussing about um, optimizer, and optimizer was something that was not installed, and we actually fixed it yesterday. And also, I have created all the master data required for quota arrangement, for classification, for subcontracting. Mm, yeah, I mean, pretty much, because uh, it's creating data, the basic data, full set of data per scenario takes a lot of time. Four scenarios we simulate, and we create master data for four scenarios. That is just material work center routing, which you all know would take easily, an hour plus. So hence, I thought, let me build all the data, and then by function, let's go and build only those data. Say, for example, classification. So we create a class, we create characteristics, all those things we'll do today. Okay, but at least to have a high level data in the system I've created. Okay, so let's log in. All right, see, to start with, PPDS optimization, which was not installed, like I just said, we'll see that, and then we'll go to quota arrangement. uh, we see how that works, and then we see classification, how that works, and let's see how we go. Maybe subcontracting. We have product interchangeability. So there is many topics to cover. So let's not rush. Let's go one by one. Okay. So to start with, let me go to the DS board where we stopped last week and take the overall profile of us. And then the work area that we created for setup metrics. Why? Because the username needs to be entered. That's the problem. If when you enter first time, you should actually enter both to properly, or it's where is setup? QR. So this is the one. Yeah. So now it will open up. See ya. So the set the resources starting with wset and the products got defaulted. Let's get inside. You know that last Saturday we created some orders, and that should be here. Yeah, where I think it should be in the past. Right click, begin with first graphical object, so it's all here. And this is how we sequenced. Like A to E, A B C D E in forward direction. We did in backward direction from D to A. We did, and we did manual sequencing in the sense I go and change product C to product D or D to A, D to B, and then we also saw how the changeover times changes by itself without us doing, because it always refers to the setup matrix. And also we split the order, and we saw how that that 1 minute, which is called transition. Yeah. So the transition, when an order is actually repeated one after the other, same order. Okay, two different orders, same product, same group. So we said we need 0 or 1 minute. That also we saw. But now what we should see is, and we also saw how optimization, the profile we saw where we can define horizon. So now what I want to do is, you see the horizon, everything is in the past. One of the order is on 16th, and then 17th we have orders on 18th, and until end of 18th we have orders. So this is what the planner thinks. Okay, this may not be the best way of doing. Why? Best way is what optimizer thinks based on cost. Okay, for that we can go here and get back to the matrix CDPSC7, and we go to setup matrix, and there we select our matrix that we created, and we know that by double clicking it takes us to the setup groups and changeovers. System is a little bit on the slower side today. Yeah, so you see that there is times. Okay, and then we need to put some cost. So where is cost? So cost will be, I have just entered some cost. We can actually copy from there, and that is here. Some cost, see, this has got no financial impacts. Don't think that this is related to finance, this is related to activity cost. No. Okay, that is only in execution. When you execute, when you create a production order, when you release the production order, that's when all the controlling part gets calculated based on the activities that you have defined in the routing. This cost is only I would say not a virtual cost, but just to give system some priority. Yeah, based on, so priority cannot be always ABCD or 1 2 3 4. When you have so many combinations, there could be some impact of say for example a labor cost is involved, a storage cost is involved, a production cost is involved. Production cost in planning, not the execution part. So planners we should tell planners that there should be some cost associated in the matrix. Hence, within the cost, there could be many factors. The factors would be something which planners will already know. Okay, so based on those factors, you can always come up with some cost, and that cost needs to reflect in the matrix. Yeah, so I will copy this random number because we have to give a random number. Anyone has any question? I'm getting
Yes.
some.
Sorry, sir. I'll ask you a question and then I'll go to mute. So what are I think when you said cost, I heard one cost, which is a labor cost that's not in S&P. I was just curious, what are the major costs in here?
See, in optimization, when say for example, there are two types. One is in PPDS, we mainly focus on planning optimization only, based on changeover times, based on setup metrics. If you think about an example, I was talking last week, the changeover from chocolate to vanilla, right? A chocolate to vanilla flavored milk. Planner thinks he should not do it because it has a lot of time based cleaning. It's lengthy, but that process could be cost effective. You may have some automatic way of cleaning, even though it takes time, but the cleaning cost could be lesser. Time could be more. Whereas if you change from vanilla to strawberry, time could be less, but the process of cleaning could be, the cost of cleaning could be more. So for every activity, you have time and cost. Okay. And also think about the skill set required of the people. They could be very expensive. If you change from chocolate to vanilla, or if you change from vanilla to chocolate, the skill set may not be required. Anybody can go and clean. You know cleaners, right? So cleaners come with some skill sets. So these are the things that the planners know. You don't have to actually explain to them. They already know. So based on that, we put some. If it is $90, the other could be $60. So what it does, it checks, okay, if this is the sequence that I have to follow, it is $90. Why would I go that way? I take another 5 minutes extra, and I prefer something which is $60. Where, how does this optimization know? We give weightage. We give weightage. You say give more weight to the cost or give more weight to the time. So based on the weightage that we give, optimization will plan accordingly. I'll show how to give weightage now. Okay.
Okay.
So you can define some cost here. I don't know whether the network is my network problem or it's the system is slow. I don't know.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Let us see. 120, 100. Then we keep on reducing. Gain, increase, and then you give more, 125, then you give 150. This is one time. I mean, they don't think every time. Normally they give you one set of costs and they don't change, because just imagine this is at a resource level. If you have 50 resources where you want to run optimization, you need to have 50 matrices, because the matrix is always assigned to resource master. So it's just one time. See, this one is where is our? I know that I had created right? That I don't see that here. Anyway, Save. Okay, I've put some cost. Now I go back to optimization, detailed scheduling planning board. I will not touch any the schedule. Schedule is what planner thought. Let it be in the past. Okay, it's a good learning for us to see whether our horizon works. Okay, so always whenever you run optimization, you have to select the resource. Optimization is always done at a resource level, not at a product level. Okay, so I click on optimize. Yeah. The moment I click on optimize, it says, okay, what is the horizon? It always starts from current date. And I showed you last week in the configuration when we did, you can always say my horizon always starts 1 week in the past, from 1 week. And then plan also, I told you, plan also should be the same. I don't care about this, maybe 29th, or you can give April also. That is absolutely not a problem. It all depends how far you want to go, with your optimization. So I'll say till 3rd of April, my horizon ends. But here, I want at least a few days backwards, right? So it's good to always have it as say something like 16th. Yeah, 1 week. And I also told you this is the start horizon only. But for optimization to go and change the schedule, normally it should be the same as this horizon start. So now optimization will run, but we have to go and see whether we have to change anything like weightage and all, which we could. I told you that weightage I'll show you. So if you want to do any modification in the optimization, see this icon here. Click on this icon, and this is the weightage. Okay, see this equal weightage now, 33.33% is the equal weightage. So let's give more weightage to this. How we give more weightage to time cost, setup cost. Then it will go with optimization cost that we defined. So it will give weightage to that, and the planner would have given based on lowest time that setup matrix would have taken. But like I said, it could be expensive. So this goes and checks what is the cost of that changeover, and then comes up with another plan. But you should think that you should know that the output of optimization is a finite schedule, cost based finite schedule. Okay, and it also gives you a sequence, which sequence you have to produce finitely. Okay, and I was telling you that mode cost or not. Today we'll see that. We'll not see mode cost today, but today we'll be creating all the modes, classifications, everything. If you can give some delay cost also. Why? Because the demand could be very close to the order, and if you go and cross that, there could be some penalty. Okay, so delay cost also, if you can give a PPDS optimization takes it. Delay cost is only that say the demand is on 8th of April, and if your orders are on 9th of April, it always tries to plan something before 8th of or 9th of April, and it doesn't go beyond that because it knows that if it schedules something outside that period, there is a delay cost. Okay, so if you give, say for example, if you give 20, again it will show you, see, delay cost. This is red always. Okay, so delay cost is just 20%, but it may ignore, but because your weightage is lesser on delay. So you're actually saying that delay cost, there is delay cost, but my highest weightage is setup cost. Delay I don't mind, but if delay is higher, cost you don't care, then you have to give more weightage to the delay. Okay, and we have late operation, because our orders will be late now because our orders are already in the past. So what you should do, you make sure you always schedule it. Yeah, backward scheduling in this, it doesn't matter. The other thing I want to show is order processing. Like I told you the other day, in APO the latest version of APU, you can actually create orders. You can give a selection profile and create orders. You don't need orders at all. That's advanced than S4HANA. Yeah, where you go and create orders. All you need to have demand. Why you have to? If you're fully confident about the output of optimization, you don't really care about what your planner thinks. Then you can directly execute optimization. That will create and schedule everything together, sequence all together at one go. You don't have to plan, you don't have to schedule, you don't have to sequence and then run optimization. Whereas in S4, you have to do that. Okay, resource process, is there anything you can say? A time continuous capacity. This I will show today, more priorities and all. Horizon we have just given. Yeah, so we have gone through all this, so we don't need to once again the bottleneck I told you have to go in. Here the first this one here, it will always give you how long you want optimization to run. So let's say 1 minute, because we have just one resource. If you have say 10 resources around 100 orders, you need more time. You need to give more time for optimization. How do you decide? That's another question planners will ask. How do you decide how long it takes? What normally SAP tells us that always go with end run after first solution and see how long it takes. If it takes 1 minute, this is the best practice I'm talking about. If it takes 1 minute, always give 3 times. 3 times is what SAP recommends. But how do you know what is the how many minutes is that? It's by running optimization with that indicator. End run after first solution. You know, to come up with one solution, how much time it takes. So why 3 times they say is the number of orders may not be always same. Like today I have 100 orders. Tomorrow it can be 150. It can be maybe double production, but it cannot go beyond 3. Why 3? Is because maximum you have in any organization is 3 shifts: morning shift, afternoon shift. So today I run 1 shift. Suddenly I decide to run 2 shifts, and sometimes if I'm very desperate, I'll go with 3 shifts. So if you have 3 times of your first solution, it's guaranteed that all the orders of the 3 shifts are covered. So this is the standard recommendation I'm talking about. First solution could be 20 seconds or 1 minute, so make it 3 minutes, something else. So here I'm just giving 1 minute. Normally in a real scenario where I've seen it in 2 places, optimization runs for 17-18 minutes is what I've always seen. Many resources, 17-18 minutes is maximum that I've seen. It doesn't go beyond that. Okay, so you have to, whatever, if you have changed optimization, you have to say copy. Okay, and see here, all these colors indicate this is the lead time. Lead time is what? You'll see here. You'll see here what is the lead time. Lead time is the total. It's a all the orders put together. How many seconds is lead time? And setup times put together all the, say for example, I have 6 orders, and every order there is setup time of 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 18 minutes, whatever we give. Okay, put together how many minutes that you are dealing with and the cost. Okay, so for that you have to see that you have to execute, and it runs for 1 hour. See, it's doing something, and you see the lead time. It is a number of seconds. Setup times is number of seconds. Setup cost is not seconds. It's total sum of all this. Like we had given sum, right? 5,000, something like that. It's actually summing it up. It comes to around 58,000 cost. Huh? It could be dollars. It could be anything. There's nothing to do with the currency. It's just the cost. Okay, so let it run, and you see here deallocation cost. You can ask me why deallocation. Deallocation, you saw that if orders are already delayed, if orders are in the past, there was an indicator where you want to schedule or deallocate. If you deallocate, definitely there is a cost because you need to later once again produce it. Okay, so it has done something. We go to solution. Yeah, it has done something. So let's Okay, go back. It is not done anything, no? 17th, right? Where are other orders? I think something to do with our horizon, because there's one order which is not touched, but everything else is touched. From current date, yeah. See, this is the sequence it has recommended. Okay, now I understand what was the problem. You know, the one order which it has not touched, it's an orphan. It is not required at all, because we have demand, right? We have 5 demands, 5 products, 5 demands. The other one was we actually created additionally, which was not required, which was not the output of planning. Okay, we created it to see whether it you know, that transition, that 1 minute transition that we had given, to test that we created, we created one more order to see the changeover between you know, whether if it's the same product that I showed you. A to A is 1 minute, so that's why it has not touched that. It has touched only those which was the output of planning. So before, how it was first was setup 1, this one, that was the sequence that we had told initially. This was first, now this is third. This was second, now it is first. This was third, now it is fourth. And this was fourth sequence before, now this is the fifth. Okay, and this is the second sequence. Like I said, if it was APO system, this sequence would be without your planning. Separately, MRP, whatever we ran before, you don't need it. You just come, execute optimizer. It will go and check all the demands. It will create the planned orders. It will look at the setup metrics. It will sequence the way it wants. Okay. See, the other thing which I'll introduce now, not for optimization, I'll be, what I want you guys to do is that now you know setup metrics, how it works. There is already a setup metrics in the system. There is already some cost there, changeover times, groups, everything is there. After optimization, now today I'll be teaching you how modes work. Okay, so knowing modes, knowing optimization. See, club, I've told this to many batches, but the challenge was that in APO, whatever I show you now doesn't work. Okay, it works through PPM. It doesn't work through PDS. But in good news for you guys is that in S4 HANA it works. I'll show you how to do it and simulate that and let me know. But today manually I'll show you how exactly that could work. It's like dragging and dropping. Okay, I'll show you entire setup right from the time creating a class, characteristics, linking the machines, linking the route, everything I'll show you today. I'll show you the output. From your side, when you're practicing it, just try to link optimization with modes and see the output, and it will be nothing like that. I'm telling you. I don't think anyone knows that. So I want to get back to Excel for a while, just to explain 2 things before we go to the. Here it is. I think let me change my location. Maybe my network, maybe I'll move close to the modem and see what happens. Okay, let's see how we go now. Yeah, sorry guys. So what I want to show you now is whenever you produce a product in multiple production lines. Say, for example, I'm producing raw milk, yeah, and I have three packing lines. Maybe my quantity is very high, maybe 5,000 liters. So there are three machines, yeah. So I say line one, line two, and line three. So there are three lines I have packing. So, but sometimes this line, uh, the situation is that the capability is same. If this takes 60 minutes, to pack say 200 liters, this also is same. There could be a little bit of plus and minus, but we always manage that with the utilization. Utilization, I'll say 110%, 105%, 120%, or 95%. So utilization rate you can give at a machine level. Okay, and utilization rate can be given at a shift level assigned to that machine. So there are many ways if we have a capacity deviations where the rate at which you produce differs from machine to machine. So the only way to manage that is by altering the utilization. Okay, if it is 50%, then you don't need to use this functionality at all. So when you have this kind of scenario where you have three different machines which can do the same thing, there are two ways to achieve the output, which is very economical. One is using the production version. So in this case, you need to have production version. So to have production version, what you need to have BOM. One set of BOM is enough because you can assign the same BOM in all the production version. But you should have three routings. Okay. In the first routing, you say this is my product, which is raw milk. In routing one, I assign, say for example, in this case, I'm using quota. I'm actually talking about quota arrangement here. Quota 1, quota 2, something like that I've used, and quota 3. So three machines I have. Normally it won't be named as quota, but we are actually now moving to quota arrangement. So in this case, how do you distribute? I have three production versions. I know there are three lines, but whenever you plan, it always plans on only one production version, right? Only on this. In plan, always it plans on the first production version, but I have two other production versions where I want the entire requirement to be distributed. So there are two things here. One is I give a base quantity. Base quantity means I'll say if the quantity is only 500 liters, anything less than 500 liters, forget about distribution. I'll do it on one machine. Why should I switch on three lines? Just think about the labor requirement, think about the energy requirement. Yeah, when I say energy, also electricity and all this. You don't need. Why you have to put on three lines for only 500 liters? So I'll say anything less than 500 liters, only line one. Anything above 500 liters, all the three. Okay. You may ask me, what if it is, I don't want three, I want only two. Then you can always, deactivate, block, and all these things. The third line. Okay. Normally we don't. Whenever you run, you use quota. Either use the first line or use everything. This is what I've seen. It cannot be that I have 10 lines. I want to use 5. You cannot do it. Okay. If you want to do that, then you have modes. So here, in this quota arrangement, what all you need a material? You need bomb. You need 3 work centers. 3 work centers. You need 3 routings. You need 3 production versions. This is for only one material. What if I have 100 such material? I need to create 300 routings, 300 production versions. Time to create. Okay. Data load on the system and reading it, performance. It becomes very complicated. If it is 100 itself, it's complicated. But you know what kind of products you have in production system? It will be in thousands. What if it is in hundreds? At least it's not 100. It could be more than 100. What is the amount of data you have to create? And data maintenance, SIF interface problems. You have a lot of problems to use this. Okay. So whenever you raise this concern that definitely data team will raise the concerns, it's too much of data. Okay. But what do? They'll say we cannot actually do it. The simplest solution is introducing classification. Okay. In classification, I need one material, one bomb, no change, 3 work center, no problem. Work center, you need it, right? Because you're producing. Without machine, you cannot produce. So that cannot be avoided. So 3 work centers, only one routing. This is where you say only one routing and only one production version. So how much you save? Yeah, like if you take a scale of 100, you don't have to create 200 routings, 200 production versions, which is huge. And also the ease. Here you can do based on quota. Okay, or you can say manually change source of supply. Here you don't have. You can actually drag and drop from one machine to other. You can just actually you can just drag, select the order, push it to the next work center. In scheduling, we can do this. Planning always does it in the first production version. Once the orders are there, you can just planners just drag and drop wherever they want to produce. Okay, and here you have line 1. You can always say that based on your rates, run times or capacity. There are many words to use. You can define quota. I'll say on the first line I want 40%. The second line I want 40%, and then on the third line I want only 20%, or 30, 30, 40. So when you say like this, the requirement is 5,000 liters, right? So immediately when you plan, by default, planning itself will consider quota. There is a quota heuristic where it'll say, okay, 2,000 in this, 2,000 in this, 1,000 in this. Okay, so this is quota. Whereas here, what it does, all the 5,000 orders, all the orders for that total quantity will be scheduled on the first machine, first work center. Okay, if it is one order, you cannot split. You know that, right? In the system cannot split. So what we do is we give a daily lot size. Always keep in mind. Always keep in mind. Never forget this interview question. Whenever you decide lot size, think that planner says I don't care about the lot size. Okay, some some industries, they don't really care about lot size. They'll just produce whatever the quantity is. Whenever you have limitations where you have a tank, where you say minimum this has to be there, maximum, this is my max, then lot sizes will come, your problem is solved. But some clients, they don't really care about lot size. Every requirement is one order. Okay, and there, if you want to actually use classification, you should always think about the best way. Minimum lot size, this is the thumb rule that I use. SAP doesn't say this. Minimum lot size should be equals what you can produce in one shift. Maximum lot size, because I gave it went to formulas. Okay, so minimum lot size should be equals what you can produce in a shift, one shift, so that you get one order for a shift, right? Makes a lot of sense. Your maximum lot size should be what you can produce in a day in 3 shifts. So today's order is finished today. If I do forward scheduling from today morning, it finishes today in 24 hours in 3 shifts, is what you should. Okay, this is the thumb rule. So if you do this, what happens? System will anyway, that 5,000 is produced in 2 days or 3 days or 1 day, whatever. It gives you multiple planned orders. It's not just one plan. So when it gives multiple planned orders, then you can swap from one machine to the other machine manually. In scheduling also it does. Okay, so let's see. We'll start with very interesting. This too, I'm telling you, very interesting. Quota is widely used. Classification, it's a little bit complex, but the normal IDES API doesn't support it. So I was actually manipulating. I was creating PPM, and I was doing everything manual. Now everything works directly, which is a good news. Okay, so let's see both data part and also what needs to be done in planning. Getting back to the system. And what was that? So I have created MM60 quota star. Let's see whether it takes star in this plant. No, I think it's right here. It's only one product that I've created. It's just one product we are splitting, right? So it's quota -FG1 is the material. Okay, if you look at production version for quota -FG1, if you look at MRP4, you will see that there is 3 production: quota 1, QT1, QT2, QT3. You get that? Now BOM is same because the components which is used for production is the same. The semi-finished goods is same. So we go to CA02 quota. The moment you click this, it will say, okay, there are 3 groups and counters. So if I go to this one, it is quota 1 is the name of the work center. It's just any other work center. Okay. If you go to quota 2, it's a different work center. And the quota 3 should be a third work center. Now is when I want to distribute my requirement. So for quota arrangement, what we need materials. We need 3 machines. In our example, we have 3 routings. Hence, we have 3 production versions. As soon as I shift to APO, how it looks. I don't have to shift. You know that there is one transaction. I execute the transaction. Everything goes to advanced planning. There, karto underscore quota G1. Here there are 3 source of supplies. Okay, see T1, T2, T3. What is this? This is the name of the production version. And wherever you go, it will show you what is the name of the machine. This is what I'm using. The machine is quota w quota 3 underscore 003 underscore 00 is my quota. So what we should do now? We should create a demand. Thought I put some number here. And we have to create quota arrangement. So there is some demand that I put 2000. Okay, exactly. I just showed you 2000 liters, right? Think that we are running the same thing, but I want to create a quota. Now, if I run, it will, before creating the quota, there is no quota now. So I go to variable heuristic. Now you guys are experts in all this. Run variable heuristic for this one. And then you see there's a plan order created for 2000. This is what happens. This is the first production version, quota 1. But this is not what I want. Correct? We want this to be distributed to all the 3 work centers. I'm telling you, I'm showing you, it looks very easy, but I know that I've spent a lot of hours in whenever I'm stuck. It has taken, so it's not easy. So we'll go here /n/SAP APO SCC underscore TQ1. I'll show you the path also. This is the quota. If you want to know where the path is, it's logistics, advanced planning, master data, quota arrangement, TQ1, same. You go here. I think this is the transaction that we used in SNP also. So you will see a lot of fields here, which is a copy and paste, copy from APO and they pasted here because it has data related to SNP, which in S4 doesn't. We don't have it on. Okay, they have not customized this only for PPDS. They've just taken that from APO, like the other things that I showed you the other day, where it's not just for PPDS, it's for SNP also, but we don't have SNP in S4. Location is 0003. It can be planning version 00. If you say version independent, it's applicable for all versions. It should be always inbound. Outbound quota arrangement in SNP we use. If you look at supply chain management, a distribution network, inbound is if I'm a DC, I'm a distribution center. I have 3 factories from where I receive goods. Okay, so to control that, I'll give quota arrangement. 30% I want from factory 1, 20% I want from factory 2, and then 50% from factory 3. So when I execute S&P heuristics, my purchase requisition and purchase requisition relates will be created based on the inbound. How much I get from each factory. Think that I'm a factory. I'm not a DC now. I'm a factory, but there are 3 DCs that I supply to. In that case, I give outbound quota arrangement where I say that I will give 20% to DC1, 40% to DC2, and 40% to DC3. So whenever you run planning S&P heuristics at a DC level, only 40% of the requirements will fall on your factory because it knows you don't get more than 40% because quota arrangement is there. Or when you do deployment also, it does that. When you do deployment and TLV, the distribution planning will go and look at the outbound quota and it will deploy only 20% of the requirements to you, of the total requirement. So these are all S&P. But for PPDS, you should be always inbound quota arrangement. Go to change mode. Okay, there is nothing. So create one quota and my product is quota hyphen FG1. Okay, you can use all products, but not good practice. Like I said, in S&P we use that because so many in PPDs we never go at all products. Okay, or you can give a selection here. See here, there's a selection. You can go and give some 10 products, a selection at a location level. So now we have quota-fg1 validity period, because quota is always for next 2 months only. After that, you don't want quota to be considered. Why do I use a quota if my production horizon is say 3 months, 90 days? Okay, but why do I need to distribute my orders for the 80th day, 85th day? When I get close up only I want. But for 90 days, I want to see what is that I have to produce only. I don't really care whether I produce on one machine or 3 machines. I don't care. So hence, validity period, if you ask me, I normally tell that for system to consider quota, it should be current week or next week. That is where the real production happens. So I want to distribute my order. Yeah, but after that, it can fall on one resource. Okay, and as it comes closer only, it again re-explodes the bomb and make that one planned order into 3 different planned orders. Okay, makes a lot of sense with that. So end date you can give anything, say 29th or 30th of next month, doesn't matter. See here, there's a very important thing. You should always, this is requirement splitting. I told you 2000 cases or 2000 liters is a requirement. So if you don't do this, it doesn't split your requirement. So there are many ways. How, see here, you can split all the daily requirements. Daily requirements is not one demand. It could be multiple demands for the entire day. Is split into 3 machines. See here, many things you can use. If you don't give anything like what I've given now, individual requirements, every requirement, individual requirements are split into 3. That is what we are doing. Think that I have dependent demand, I have purchase requisition released, I have forecast, I have sales orders. There are many types of demands I have in the system. It will go and look at all the requirements for the given day, or all the requirements for a week, or all the requirements for a month, and split it. Month is too much. Personally speaking, my experience, weekly requirements may make sense, but I would say daily requirements is good enough. Yeah, next 10 days, 10, all the requirements is split into 10, and then the output of quota will be based on those requirements. Personally speaking, if you want to use quota, I would say individual requirements or daily makes practical sense. Weekly becomes more, because it's huge, right? And, so many sales orders, so many forecasts, so many different types of demands together. It's a lot confusing to actually handle that. So I recommend either individual or daily requirements will make a lot of sense. Okay, and I also told you that you must give, if you don't give this, even for 100, let's see in the system both. Even for 100 cases, it will split 30, 30, 30, quota, which doesn't make sense. So you say quota arrangement should work only if it is at least 500 each is, okay, kgs, liters, whatever you can give. So we'll, in the system, we'll see both. We'll give a requirement for 400 and see what happens. We'll give 600 and see what happens. Okay. Now, the moment you say okay, it knows that there is a requirement split. There is a remaining splitting also is there. Maximum it doesn't. Maximum is your total demand. And based on what you want to do quota, I'll say that there are many things. A quota arrangement for, these are all for S&P. My PPDS is only for in-house production. In in-house production for that product, there are 3. See here, T1, T2, T3. I select this, say okay. I select again, in-house production, select the second one. And then go here, select the third one. Okay. Now there are a few things for S&P. Don't really worry about it. This PPDS optimization not consider. See all this. Go here, and you can also, I think help also has that. If you go here, all this is for supply network planning. Okay. So in supply network planning, it will actually consider the fields are same. That's the problem. The fields are same. Quota is used mainly in S&P for distribution planning and in S&P network planning. This also S&P. Yeah, supply. All this is supply. So don't worry. In PPDs, you don't have to worry about all this. What you should worry is this one. Say, for example, I'll give 30, 30, and say 40%. This is how you give quota. Okay, and when you give quota, you can assign a quota heuristic directly and run standard loss heuristic. So it will, when you run standard loss heuristic, it will come and look at the quota and reach the heuristic from here. Okay, so the problem is, but this once again, whatever I'm saying is my experience. I don't assign the heuristic here because sometimes I don't want to go with the quota heuristic. I want system to ignore quota, and I want system to do standard lot size. Okay, then I get the flexibility. If I want quota, I run quota heuristic. If I want standard lots, I run standard lots heuristic. Okay, so hence I don't want to make it a rule that every time this product is relevant to quota. No, if you want 100% quota always all the time for any given product, you can assign a heuristic here. But if you want to decide what needs to be done, then don't assign here. I'll show you where you do. Okay, now other two things I want to explain why you have. This is still used in PPDS. I'll give an example. Think that I have three production versions, and I've given quota 30, 30, 40. Okay, and there are production orders, firm production. Planned order can be replanned. It's not a firmed order. If you run quota heuristic, it will go and say it'll change. Why it has to change is because suddenly there is another machine that got introduced. Very, very rare case. You don't simply go and buy, it's not vegetable. You don't simply go and buy a machine. So this base quantity works only when suddenly you introduce one more production version within this. And where your orders are all firm, production orders are already there. It's not released yet. It's just a production order. So then you introduce a new production version, one more line you introduce. And then when you run planning, it looks at the base quantity. Say base quantity is 1000 or whatever. So it will split, if it will divide that by 4. If my requirement is 2000, and if I go and put my base quantity as 2000, say for example, it will go and ignore this quota that you have given. It will take 25% each. Okay, and the balance quantity, you get a new planned order for that quantity on that production version. This is a very, very rare case where you suddenly introduce a new production version. Only then you can. I personally speaking, I've never come across a situation like this. If I come across a situation like this, you know what I'll do? I know that I'm not disturbing the released production orders, right? Planned orders, I know that it'll change and it'll once again read the quota. But if a situation comes like that, I don't really give a base quantity. I'll go and delete all the production orders because it's just a production order which is not released yet, right? I go and add the quota proportion and then replan. Or else if you give all these things, SAP gives options for everything, but who don't tell all this to your planners? These are all very complicated things. They'll sit on you. It's not working. Based on their understanding, it's not working. They raise a ticket. All these things will start. So some of the things you should not tell them at all. Okay, for your understanding, you can simulate sometime and see. It always, whenever you have, if you read, see you have 50% of usage, that is your allocate your and suddenly you have a third one, and if you give a base quantity of 1000, then it distributes by 33.3. Yeah, so these things don't. Best way is to actually delete everything, introduce a new quota, replan is what I recommend. So remember this, I've given 500 as a minimum split, and I've given 30, 30, 40 as the proportion. So we need to simulate both and see what happens. We don't really have to go to DS, go to C, here only it shows. Okay, now let me change the requirement to say, hey guys, one second, I pressed the wrong button. Just hold on. Yeah, I think you can see my screen now. So I was trying, instead of clicking, instead of hitting the delete icon, minus say 499, okay? Because I'm saying it should work only if it is more than 500, right? So let's see what happens. Now, I also showed you in the beginning where I just ran a heuristic and I showed you that it runs, it gives you a planned order. It doesn't read the quota because it's a standard lots heuristic. So if you want standard lots heuristic to work, you should go here and let's see things. Quota heuristic. Okay, it doesn't have any parameters. It is just a heuristic which will look at the quota arrangement and it will split the order. So let's see what happens with this. It gave a planned order. Now I'll increase this to 501. Okay, again go to variable heuristic. Go to quota. Here I click on heuristics. You see here quota FG1, it is reading the source of supply which is 003 QT1. Okay, and dot QT2 and adopt QT3. Okay. Go back. See the resource. Quota 1, quota 2, quota 3. It's split based on the percentage that I've given in the quota range. Whatever I give, 20, 30, 40% for the third one, third whatever. Okay, and this works fantastic, right? Then you can always use your DS board to schedule on each resource. All is a each. Okay, and see here. So go to pegging overview. See, all the three planned orders are pegged to this forecast requirement. Okay, it's not that one is pegged and rest are not. It aligns to the requirement. Okay, so one requirement, three planned orders, three different machines. And also, if you double click this and see here, you can actually change if you don't want manually. You can say that I don't want here, I want here. We can adopt. See here, it will show all the quota arrangement here. FG1, yeah, you break this open, you expand this, yeah, and then you expand this one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So this is how it reads. What I want to show is, let me cancel this. Let's see whether it works. Okay. And this is what machine is quota 1, right? Go here. In DS port also it's there. I showed you that change to second one. Second one is what? It's a different production version. Adopt it and stay back. See here, 1 is gone. I replaced it with 3. Yeah, so there are 2 3s and 1 2. And the one that I did becomes a firmed order because I did a small change to the planned order, right? So before this was 1 and I changed it to 3. So this is later. Hey, hang on just a minute. I'm getting a message. Another call. Right. This is one thing I want to show. Now the situation is, see, I don't have to actually go to DS port and all. If I have not shown you, there is a way to go to navigate to DS port from here. I think I told you guys or I told somebody else in the previous batch that 15 years experienced guy, very, very basic. You may not believe me also. They didn't know. The moment they saw me doing it and they actually took the screenshots and documented it immediately because they always went to DS board through the transaction that I showed you. You can also navigate. I believe that I had shown you. You can also navigate from here. You can always go to either DS planning board 1 or 2 and then you can say full screen and then you can where is that? Yeah, you can hide chart, you can hide whatever. Yeah, and then you can also call your DS whatever our planning board profile F or something. You can call that. See, everything changes the way you want. Resource is not there, you can call the resource absolutely. If you want, you can actually call the resource here directly. In SNP planning book we do, right? We can always call the resource, any resource that you want, you can call it. So this is another way to actually navigate to DS port from this one. Probably why it didn't read is because it's not published in the live cache yet, it's not saved yet. So hence it doesn't, it couldn't read from the live cache. So that's it. So there is another way to actually navigate. So now what we did was we split the quantity and with so many master data, we could split. But now I'll show you one more thing where I want to split without multiple routings, without multiple production versions, only one machine. I can have any number of machines. Here, the example I gave you 300 based on 3. Think that I have 10 different machines to produce the same. Then you have to create 10 routings, 10 production versions, 100 products, 1000 different data you have to create. Okay, you have to create 1000 routings and 1000 production versions. So this works fantastic. You can do planning, you can do scheduling, everything you can do. But it's the only drawback is that it's too much of master data involved. So what do I do if I don't need to maintain so much of master data? Okay, for that I've created one more set of data. It's for you guys to go and you don't have to write down or just straight away. It's a class, everyone. Please don't change all this. I expect you guys to create your own class FG1, straightforward. Okay, go to MRP4. Yeah, there's only one production version. That's it. It's called CL1. Only one production version have. I'll go to the routing also. CA02. there will be only one routing, not more than one. And the work center is class 1 is the work center I was saying. But I've created 3 machines. Okay, and here I put only one machine. What are those machines? One is class 1, CR02. Yeah, there's something called class 2 is a second machine, and then class 3 is the third machine. So what I've created now, one material, one routing, 3 machines, and one bomb. Okay, now I want system to distribute the order. Okay, how do I do it? So we need to create a class. This week and next week for block planning also I'll be creating class characteristics. So what it is, /n CL01 is the transaction code to create a class. What is the name of the class that you want? F WC class. Okay. Always the class type should be work center class, which is 19. Keep in mind, once again, interview question. A work center class can never be shift to advanced planning. But next week when I create block class, you'll see that we have to shift it because block planning works on CDP class, whereas CDP belongs to S4. The variant or whatever material, what the other classes belongs to ECC. Okay, so hence we have to shift it. When you shift it, that gets converted to block class. That we'll see next week. Okay, now here I'm only creating class for work center classification. Okay, the status is released and I save it. See, from here also I can do, I don't want to do. Okay, I'll save. Okay, then you can in fact do like this, change, go to characteristics, create a characteristics. I'll say if why do you need this scenario? Maybe different rates. Yeah? I can create bottles per hour. Yeah. Maybe flavors, you can create one. Okay. What are the values? This is a character, right? It's a character format. I'll say maybe maximum say 15. Okay. Values. I'll say 120 bottles, 130 or anything you can give, 100 bottles per hour. Or other thing you can do is you can say 100. You can say 120. You can say 1/3. Okay. Here you can say per hour. Okay, so this you don't have to give. If you want to default this value, always, always you don't need. So hit enter. So I've created 3 values. 3 machines I have, 3 different speeds. Okay, that's the reason I have 3 machines. What is this language? Okay, that will be here, it should be EN. What is it? Could be it needs alphanumeric. Description.
No, I think description you have to change, Sanjay. The per hour It's same for all values.
Oh, was that the reason? Okay.
Yeah. The message says that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. This was for block planning. What is the CL02? And this is character. Say 10 or something. And description. Yeah, I was thinking this was the problem. Anyway, it's given English. Values 120, 125, 30. So I mean to say description is same, is it? Okay, let's change that. Okay, that's it. Great. Thank you so much, Palani. All right, so class and characteristics are ready. So, cool. Now we have to go to, we need to link this to our machine. So class 1 is what we created. Go to extras classification. I'm linking the class to this work center class. See, by default 019 opens. I'm linking FWC class. Hit enter. Here I'm saying this is 120. Okay. And this one, I'm actually linking the characteristics to work center. This doesn't work in a standard system. I'm telling you, you can check in your system. It requires some baddie activations and all this. So that's why I was fooling around with PPMs and all this before. Okay, so 3 different capacities I have. You might think, how do I manage if I have a different capacity? There are many ways. Okay, you see, what I do is I always put some utilization here. The 110% means what? It produces more. Utilization is less, you put 90% utilization. 90% is, see, for 100 minutes to produce 100 bottles, if it takes 60 minutes, if it has 90% utilization, it will take 66 minutes, right? 10% more time it takes because utilization is reduced by 10%. So your time taken increases, right? So this is how I manage whenever you have different utilization, because the challenge is that I don't have the luxury of defining my run times on this, because in routing I have only one mission, whereas here I have 3 missions, right? So that is the reason. So what I did, 3 missions, I created one class and I created 3 characteristics and linked those 3 characteristics to this missions. Now I need to link this to the operation CA0. So this is my product, and I go to the operation. You see here there is something called classification. Here you have to go and call the class only. Write it down. You should never link anything here, because a lot of people have done that and they've come back to me. You cannot do that because in the machine you've already linked the characteristics. Here also, if you link, it gets confused, doesn't work. Okay, make sure you only link the class and save. Okay, production version, nothing, no routings. It's only one route, one machine. You're linking the class to it, and the class has 3 characteristics, and each of the characteristic is assigned to each of the machines. Okay, now we go to logistics, production, master data, advanced planning. This one, make it absolute transfer. Let everything go. Execute. So it has transferred this data to APO. So I go to back. I have to go to master data in advanced planning. What's that? PDS. You have to go to edit. Okay. Class. Execute this. You'll see something that you've never seen before. You must, I hope. You have activity, right? So there is one activity only in the production. I showed you in the routing, but when you collapse that, you have 3 machines, class 1, class 2, class 3. This is called mode. You know, I was always telling you there's something called mode. In the optimization, optimization decides if there is a delay cost. If it cannot produce in this machine, it will produce on this machine. Both are overloaded, it will produce on this machine, right? This is the modes. I have only one route, one production version, but in the PDS you see there are 3 machines linked. Here I give mode priority. I give A, I give B, yeah. Planning always plans on the first one, because planning you do always infinite. Okay, I've given 3 priorities. Mode priority A, B, C. You can give C, B, A, doesn't matter. Some priority should be there. Okay, saved it. Go back and create. I've given 4 demands, I think. Let me see. See, every time you shift something for the first time, right? It comes as default mode A. Because in there we have got nothing to tell the system that it's a B, C. There is one transaction I'll show you, which we were using before. PDS underscore, it's not slash, PDS underscore main. Okay, so here if you go to class hyphen FG1 0003, so one is for SNP. See, I told you everything is copied. We don't have SNP at all. See, S is for SNP, P is for PPDS. So let's go to this one and say operation data. See here, you have class 1 work center, This is ECC class 2 work center and class 3 work center. This is in the transaction, and here you can define mode priority here, and then we used to shift it to APO before in when you had ECC and APO system. Okay, but now you don't have, because you have change access directly in PDS, whereas in APO you cannot change. Okay, this is just for your information only. If you're still in APO system and if you want this to work, you'll have to go to PDS_mint, assign A, B, C there, and shift it. Only then those modes will come to APO. Okay. PO class -FG1. There are 4 demands that I've given for the same product on the same date. Today's date I've given. So when you plan, because planning is always infinite, right? Maybe if you do CTP, yeah. So planning, if it's find slot and it does finite planning and all, it actually goes in plan. So I say like this: variable heuristic, standard lots. You see, some of the things don't get carried away. See, yeah, this is in the scheduling. You retain. You have to say select any mode. Normally, see, it's infinite scheduling now. And down, if you come, there is one more indicator called here. And see, this we use in scheduling, but you know, strategies are same here. Retain current modes. If you do that, it always retains the current mode, even in scheduling. Okay. Now, say heuristics. And one more thing I want to show is for replanning. Yeah, this will be there. You should uncheck this. Heuristics adopt. So what it'll do, it will plan at the first production version always. Where is the machine? Change layout.
It's there resource. Right?
Where is the resource?
The right side. Yeah.
A right side will be there. That I know. But the problem is, I need add set choose layout. Yeah. No, I had created a layout for this, which was just next to the quantity. We don't have to scroll right. Now we have to always scroll and see. The resource is not there, or I'm not seeing it. You guys are seeing. Resource is not there. Oh yeah, you're right. Resource should get picked, right? It didn't. It has determined the source of supplies here. Some bug, huh? See, there is it has picked one of the resources because it has determined the source of supply. Some bug. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's save this and let's go to DS board. Here we can say resources W class, something like that, right? So it picks class 1 only will keep, okay? Because I want to show something. Product is class. Let's see what it shows. Okay. I don't see any orders here. No orders. There is something. 1 second, give me some time. What is the runtimes? Product view. Yeah, it is not. See, there is no runtime. Something to do with the route, if you guys believe. I've given to produce 100, I need 75 minutes. So what I'll do, I'll put 18 minutes. Okay, just to trigger some change pointers. Here, we'll say sorry, yeah, production. Change transfer. Yeah, it has gone. The changes. It has to show me the runtimes, right? So um, 21 is because um, 21st is over. Planning of standard lots. Okay, so it has determined some resource now. It was actually basically it's because of the past. So here it has taken how much? 4 hours, 6 hours per order. Right. Save this. You see all it has created only one. So what we'll do is let's copy this and go to we'll call only this machine. Huh? Yeah, we'll call only this machine and later From the DS board, we'll call all the resources. There is one function which I want to show. See this? There is an overload. Expand multiple running. So here there is something called load alternative resources. See, the moment you say load alternative resources, the other resources which are linked to this came up. If I manually, I'll show, but I'll say current date. Why this is changed to infinite? I don't know. It should be find slot, right? DS strategy profile. No. Let's see what happens. It didn't. Okay. Go here. Current date. Select any mode. Oh, did you see this? So what it has done is, if you say select any mode, it will make sure that it produces something which is as early as possible. If you, when you said retain mode, it scheduled forward scheduling. It was going for 3 days, next 3 days. But because that I have 2 other missions, system directly, went to all the machines and scheduled orders. I'm getting a call, no problem. Other thing I want to show is that here there is something called select any mode. In future, if you want to try this also, you can actually lowest priority. If you can go till B, it would have done only 2 resources. If you go to C, A, B, C, D is what we give. So I said my lowest priority is O. Hence it went to all the machines. Now planner doesn't like this. He doesn't want anything on second machine. He can actually select this. The moment he selects this, see the green lights in the background, he can actually put wherever he wants, drag and drop. So manually also you can drag and drop. Okay, and you can get the system also to schedule based on the mode pad. See, this is what they do. Normally, the one I showed you, select any mode, and planners don't do that. Even though it's a good way of doing, because let system do it, but planners always they change orders manually. So now you tell me quota arrangement, yeah, good, that proportion you can give, you can distribute, but think about the master data that you have. And it always, quota arrangement always stick to the proportion that you have given. Sometimes you want dynamic proportion, 50-50. I told you that it'll be 50, suddenly one more source of supply comes. What you do? You don't have this flexibility of drag and drop or scheduling at different modes by system automatically that you saw. Everything there is based on the production version. Okay, whereas here with no additional master data, that is you have only one version, one routing, you can achieve automatic scheduling, manual scheduling, like drag and drop, everything. Okay, so now that you know this, think that this was based on setup group and setup matrix. Now we have 2 orders. Yeah, on the first mission I have 5 orders. What it did, I went to DS strategy, I said select mode, select any mode, and I did. So it simply moved the orders randomly based on the dates, based on the length of the order, it simply moved. But the same thing can happen in optimizer also. That's the only difference. Optimizer gave you a sequence. It put everything on the same machine. It gave you a sequence. If you have a mode like this, it will try to finish everything as early as possible by considering the changeover time and changeover cost using all the modes. That's all. So optimizer can also be used for scheduling using modes. It has an option I showed. Okay, so now let's have 10 minutes break and come back and see subcontracting and interchangeable. It shouldn't take a lot of time. Data is there, but from ECC to AP, you have to show everything. And then we have to simulate subcontracting. Okay, so let's come back at 2, that is in 11 minutes. Okay, thanks guys. Okay, guys, let's start. Okay, so two topics that we have to discuss today as planned. One is
Sanjay, sorry to interrupt. Only one small question. Can
sure.
you explain me the mode once again in the PDS?
In the Excel or
No, in the system. Okay. You said ABC, right? Before scheduling, correct?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, tell me.
So based on the priority, it will schedule the orders into the respective resource. Is it right? Based on the mode.
See, there are two things. One is mode priority. Then
Okay.
if you want that in the planning part, then there is something called production version priority where we can define priority at a version level. But here we have only one version. But
Okay.
so we cannot use priority in planning. So always it plans on the first machine.
Okay.
And
Correct.
then I gave A, B, C sequence of priorities. So hence, when it's scheduled, it will go and see whether it can be managed in first machine. If not, it will go to the next machine. Next machine is B machine. Whichever machine B is assigned, it schedules there. And then it will go to C. If it's not enough, it goes to the C machine. So here you are
Okay.
giving priority at a machine level. So like that, you can have different 10 machines. You can have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H like that. But if you want to
Okay.
stop at 4 machines, you have to say lowest mode priority is D. So it stops at D. It will not go further.
Okay.
So like I said, exactly what happened in scheduling, same thing optimization also will do. It only looks at the cost and does it. For that, you need to have setup matrix, everything for all the machines. It's a very big setup.
Okay.
Right. So let's learn subcontracting. So you all know that subcontracting is not support. S4HANA doesn't support subcontracting. Why? Main reason is a vendor uh, when you shift vendor to APO, it becomes a different location type. Okay, but the problem is you cannot create a material in MM01 at a vendor level. I think you all know that. When I create a material, it always asks for a plant. Okay, it cannot give vendor. So what in APO what we do is we create a material in a plant and then we shift the vendor to APO. And in APO, we extend the material to the vendor. We also create a PDS to the vendor. Here we cannot do that. It's a limitation. Go and read S4HANA blog. It says the best way to make this work is using a MRP area. That's what S4HANA blog says. You can create a vendor as an MRP area. It doesn't work because when I convert a purchase requisition to purchase order, in the purchase requisition and in the purchase order, we have vendor, not MRP area. Okay, so S4HANA, forget it. Subcontracting to a vendor, it doesn't. Okay, it only you can simulate it maximum at a MRP area level because MRP area is within the plant. Okay, hence it is possible. Whereas vendor is outside your plant, is an external vendor, right? Where you do subcontracting. So that functionality, anybody, if you do solutioning in S4HANA, upfront you tell that the real subcontracting is not possible in S4. You'll have to rely on APO box. Okay, you can integrate with the S4HANA box, and if you have APO, then you can. Or else keep subcontracting in ECC. Don't bring it to APO at all. It doesn't. Don't bring it to advanced planning because it doesn't. It cannot plan. It cannot understand a material at a vendor location. Okay, so now for subcontracting, what do we need? What is the scenario? We have a material. Yeah, so I've created something called subcon, something I've created, FG1. Yeah, and I supply subcon SFG. Subcon SFG1 is the semi-finished goods that I have. And there should be a vendor. I've created something called F vendor something. And that needs to be extended to a purchase organization, right? P-org. I've extended to standard purchase organization, which is 1000. And then you need to have a production version. You'll see everything in the system. You need to have a production version. I've created some production version where I've put, and also before that, I need a works and BOM. This is the BOM component. And then I have a work center. There also I've created something called subcon WC1, something like that. Okay, and then we need a routing. Routing is not at a vendor level. No? Routing is, even though this is produced at vendor level, what is it? There is a trick that we do. I'll show you that routing. Routing will be at our sorry, in APO, if I'm doing, it's a plant level. Okay, whereas F vendor becomes, so this is the purchase organization, and we need production version PV. Yeah, something like subcon something. I've created a production, and then we need a purchase info record. Info record. In that I assign the production version. Focus here, it's a little bit tricky. Production version. Okay, and this material you need to have a special procurement type. You all know, I think it should be 30, which is subcontracting, and procurement type must be F, because I'm producing it externally from a subcontractor, which is 30. But still I'm creating a work center, I'm creating routing at in-house, like an in-house I'm creating, but it should be F and 30, only then it creates a subcontracting purchase requisition. Okay, and shifting this purchase info record and all this creates a transportation link. Transportation lane between vendor, it's like vendor to plant combination. System creates by itself, you don't have to do anything. And that transportation lane should have a reference of PIR, purchase info record. Okay, and then you have to create a handling unit. That you know already. And then you also have to create a transportation resource. These are the master data you need to create for subcontracting to work. And transportation resource is assigned to TL, transportation lane. Handling unit is assigned to vendor location. Okay, all these things we'll see now. Okay. I go to ECC system. Okay, so MM02 sub FG, and they have created SFG also. Here the plant, you see this, the plant is 1000, not vendor. Okay, I go to MRP4, MRP views, X0 because it's planned in APO. F30 is a special procurement type. 30 means subcontracting. See here? Yeah, so 30 is subcontracting. Okay, hence we have to use 30. And then if you go to MRP4, we have a production version. Sub 1 is the production version. Note it down, where I've linked a routing and an alternative bound, which is standard. Okay, and now we go to routing CA02 client 1000. All these are standard. You don't have to worry. I've created a subcon resource and given some time to it. That's all. Like I always do. And if you double click, it's that it's any other work center. No difference at all. It's all the same. See, there is nothing different. PP01 is the control key, capacity formula, scheduling formula. Nothing is different. Okay. And then I told you vendor. What is the transaction code? XK02. So here I have given a vendor in company code 1000 and purchase organization 1000. You can see address, purchasing data, all this. Okay, so here if you go, all this information, purchasing information, everything will be there. Okay, you just need a vendor data. You need to create a vendor. That's all. So that he is our subcontractor. And then ME11 is the purchase info record transaction. ME12 I would change mode, and I'm saying that vendor is F vendor, which I just created. Material is, see, purchase info record is always at a material. Who creates a purchase info record? A receiver creates. The owner of purchase info record is a receiver because he is the one who's purchasing. Okay, so who is purchasing this? This plant 1000 is purchasing it, and he belongs to purchase organization 1000. And what he is receiving? He's receiving this material from this vendor. And what type of purchase info record? It's a subcontracting purchase info record. If you go inside, if you can give reminders and all these things. Okay, this is just a totally and then if you go to purchase org data, here there's something called version. Here you have to link the production version that we created. Okay, see in what they do is they go to these conditions and list down all the conditions that they have, pricing conditions and all these things. So we don't have to worry about all those. Okay, so say as a PPDS consultant, I just want to make sure that guys have created a purchase info record. It's not PPDS guy who creates all this. It's procurement guys. You have to just get them to create it. Our job is to make sure all the master data is correct, your work centers, your routings and everything. And then in the SIF integration model, I've created one variant for subcontracting. Here I'm sending subcon data, that is my FG, SFG, everything, anything which starts from subcon, and I'm sending the purchase info record for this material which I just created. I'm sending the PDS. This is the good thing. The PDS, I'm sending a PPDS subcontracting. Be very careful here. If you send PPDS PDS, you cannot do subcontracting. Whenever you send a subcontracting PDS, you have to highlight it as a subcontracting PDS, and you have to mention the production version in here. See here, sub 1 is the production version, and sub 1 is the production version that you assign in the purchase info record. Here, if you go, you actually don't have to mention anything. I've just given a vendor. Okay, so then it will read the production version and take the sub 1 version also, and everything else is not mandatory. Yeah, and be careful that you have to send the vendor. Let me push it up. If I scroll down, I'm sending the vendor work center. Okay, that is subcon work center at 1000. Okay, and also I'm sending the vendor. Who is this? Okay, so it's just that if you go and see that you can once again do it, absolutely not a problem, because we are just running this subcon. See, I created one. Select this. Okay, so there is no error. Okay, so in ECC my part is over. Everything is created, everything is sent to APO. And in APO, I have to make sure that my vendor, that is the location master, SAP APO log3, F vendor should be Swift. See, automatically it takes the vendor type 1011. Inside that, I created a resource. I don't have to show that. I've shown how to create a resource, how to assign it to a model. I've created a handling unit and I've shown you how to in the master data session. So I just created a handling unit. Okay, and I've assigned a handling unit to vendor master. This is mandatory. There is, I told you this is required only if you use GR processing time. But in subcon scenario, they expect, APO expects a handling unit to be assigned here at a vendor location level, not at a production plant level. So at a vendor location level, you have to, yeah. So this is what it is. There is nothing, location is vendor, just factory calendar. There's nothing. See, category is H, okay, which is a handling unit. So this is one thing. And then product master. What is that? Subcon -fg. See, at a vendor level, you must have a product. You're extending the product to vendor location. This is the challenge in S4 HANA. You cannot do this manually. I think you guys now you got it, because there SIF doesn't work for materials and all. It's automatic. So anything that needs to be done in Material Master. I cannot create a material at a vendor level there. In APO, I can come here and I can say create here. The create icon is there in APO. Hence, I can extend this material to this location. So this is the limitation in S4. At the same time, now I'll show you one more thing. If I go to PDS, okay, PDS, we created this route production version at a plant level. The moment you shift it, it gets assigned to vendor. You remember, right? I created a production version which is for a plant 1000, which is a production plant. F vendor. If we execute, see, already there is a PDS. Product number, subcon SFG metal is there. And here, if you go, you have components, but you don't see the rest of the information. You got it right. You don't see the rest of the information because you're actually not doing scheduling. It's the vendor. Why you want to see vendor's information? Okay. See here, source of supply is already there. But now, you know from where this source of supply came? It came from the purchase info record. How do you know the purchase info record is already here? You should go to transportation lane / SCPPO SCC _ TL1. This is that I didn't create transportation lane. The reason behind this transportation lane is the purchase info record. How do you confirm that I did not create? Its system which created is by getting here if vendor supplying to plant 1000, go inside, you will model, sorry, 0. You go inside and there you see subcon product. Yeah, this indicate as subcontracting. Source category is info record. See, transportation lane can be created by contract, by scheduling agreement, everything. But now it is saying this is created because of purchase info record, and the purchase info record number is this. So if I go back to ECC, sorry, if I go back to ECC and I go to ME12, yeah, you can give the info record number also. See, purchase of, this is the number 7, info record 7006. What is this here? 7006. Yeah, and then purchase of data. You'll see this sub 1 as the production version, and that is the reason why it created a transportation lane, and it has a standard means of transport also. Okay, if you are actually going with all products, you don't care. If you're going at a product level, just create this. This is something that I created, product specific means of transport. Yeah, see, it has all the information. External procurement, this is the purchase info record, everything is created by itself. That's why it's grayed out. It's not, see, anything which is grayed out is something you cannot change because this is linked to the purchase info record. Okay, and the other thing what you see here is resource. This is a requirement. In SMP, you don't need this. Whenever you do subcontracting, it's a requirement in subcontracting that to calculate the transportation time from vendor to your plant. Only subcontracting scenario, because SMP heuristics will calculate. But this PPDS subcontracting scenario, when you plan, it doesn't have anything to calculate the time. Like in PPDS, it needs something to calculate. A production time, it needs a production machine. So now to calculate the transit time from vendor to plant, it needs some machine. So that machine you have to create it, and that's a transportation resource. Okay, so let me just copy that. And you can go back from here. There's nothing to see here. Do you want to save? No, because it was already there. Resource master. Okay. See this? It's a T. Transportation resource you have to create at a vendor location, because the transportation comes from vendor to you, not from you to vendor, right? So hence it has to be extended to vendor. So how do we know whether subcontracting works? So we go to, until here, any questions, guys? Because now I'll show you how it sends the requirement to a vendor, what vendor sends the information, all these things we'll see now. See here it says vendor. So I'm just, I just tested. I want to delete everything. I may not be able to delete it because it is all dependent on this. Will it allow? Yeah. Beautiful. SFG. Yeah. Very interesting, this one. Okay. So I need subcon FG1, subcon finished goods. I have a demand. Okay. minus whatever 400 on 25th or something, whatever 2603. There's a demand. So what it does, run any heuristic, product heuristic, variable heuristic, doesn't matter. So it knows that there is a transportation lane from where it knows that it is purchasing. It is purchasing. Okay. From where? From this vendor. Slash source. Source is the vendor. How does it know? It's because of the transportation lane that we have created. You have always seen that whenever I double click the order, it goes to the semi-finished goods. Here, the demand will not fall to the subcon SFG. See here, the demand has not flown to the semi-finished goods. The demand has flown to the subcon FG of vendor. Okay, so instead of showing like this, I show directly. So the purchase requisition is created. So who produces? Vendor produces. So how does he know that there is a requirement? This will send a purchase requisition released to vendor. At vendor location, this requirement came there and it has already planned automatic. Why? There is one thing I forgot to show you. What I did, when I say what I did, what you should do, because who will go and plan at vendor? Right? You have no control, right? But you want to know his lead times. You just take his lead times, okay, and then you do automatic planning. What I have done is I've just changed this to at vendor location. This is finished goods at vendor location. I have made it 3. 3, what it does? Immediate planning, right? Covered requirements immediately. Immediately, any requirement comes, it gives planned order. This is what I've done. So it immediately does the planning for this purchase info, the purchase requisition released. So now this one, it needs to produce this at vendor location. So what the vendor needs semi-finished goods from you. What is subcontracting? Subcontracting is we send the semi-finished goods to the vendor. Vendor does all the packing and sends the finished goods back to you. Okay, so that is subcontracting. So now vendor is producing. If you double click it, now you see semi-finished goods because he needs semi-finished goods from whom? From this is vendor. Okay, so he needs this. Let me directly go. See, the bomb exploded and the requirement went to requirement of semi-finished goods is at vendor level to start with. What the dependent demand is this dependent demand. See, this is minus subrec. It's saying that there is a requirement. It's because of subcontracting requirement I have. Okay. Destination is this. Now you run planning here. What it does is it says to fulfill the subcontracting requirement, I need to transfer the stock from plant 1000. See, so the source is destination is vendor, but the source for that is plant, because the plant needs to send the semi-finished goods, right? Or else how does he produce? If he has to pack cheese, you need to send the cheese to him so that he'll use his components and pack it and send it back to you. Okay, so now semi-finished goods requirement has gone to the plant, and the plant will actually, this is a demand. So there is a demand from whom? From the vendor. Okay, so vendor has sent a demand to the plant that the plant 1000 needs to transfer the stock to them so that they do planning, they do production, send it back to 1000. Okay, so based on this demand, every day you have a background job. Here you create a plant order, and then you produce. So this is total. This kind of a chain of events. You plan, you create a sub purchase requisition, and that purchase requisition gets released in vendor location. Vendor runs planning, and he plans for it and sends the dependent requirements to semi-finished goods at vendor location. And running that planning, that requirement gets transferred to your plant, that is 1000. And in plant 1000, you do planning, produce that, and then send it to vendor. So this is a chain. So if you I don't know whether MM-related data is config in the sense. I was just thinking, if what if what I want to show is this: how do you know this is a subcontracting purchase requisition? There is a way. Let me check. MD04. See this purchase requisition. So go here. Okay, you should see L. See, L is the one which means that it's a subcontracting purchase requisition. L is subcontracting. How one is L, and the other thing is it will have this icon, components, and that component what it needs is SFG1. Okay, so that's one. When you convert this purchase requisition to purchase order, you actually see, if you double click this, you can convert that into purchase order. Okay, purchasing group, I don't know what I created, but it should be first one I would have given. Yeah, so what we do is we take it to this and drop. It will inherit all the information. See, this is a requisition. I dragged and dropped it in the cart. So it created a L. This is a subcontracting PO. Okay, you save this. So when the PO is sent to the vendor, say refresh it, it becomes a PO. And then you go to APO and then refresh it. Here also the PO should come. See, purchase order, subcontracting purchase order. So this is actually the process, high level subcontract, and there is nothing else in subcontract. Very easy. Just thinking if anything that I missed in subcontracting. So we created master data until creation of subcontracting. That's all. You so now that purchase order is sent to vendor with reference to the bomb explosion, components are sent, produced components are sent, and then with the reference to this, they will produce and send it back to you, and you do GR for this purchase order, and that becomes stock. This is the execution. You don't have to actually worry. Okay, and one more thing is, any questions on this, guys?
Sir, I have a question. This is Raja Ravi.
Yeah.
So for sending the product, sending the semi-finished goods from the plant to the vendor, do the clients use TLB?
No. TLB is stock transport order, not subcontracting.
Okay, so nothing. So subcontracting cannot be dealt using TLB.
No. TLB is always for an STO because TLB needs two plants, not an external plant. Within the same organization, maybe in different company codes, you need to have a plant, your own plant. Within the network only, you do TLB.
Right.
Okay. Subcontracting cannot be. Right. So the other thing that I want to cover today, so that next Sunday we'll meet and we'll do block planning. That takes a lot of time. That is very complex. That's why I want to keep that separate. Block planning, and along with block planning, I want to show colors, PPDS planning board colors. And I told you the demo session that I'll also show you plant maintenance integration. I also mentioned that there is a limitation. I'll only show you master data creation and integration part. Simulation like subcontracting I showed, I may not be able to achieve, but everything that needs to be there in plant maintenance, like creating equipment, creating order, linking the machine, everything will show. We'll see the output. What we normally expect in PPDS is that if you go to the work center tab, in the work center, that is the resource master, you must see the plant maintenance order there. Okay, so that part I'll show you what all needs to be done, important, so that when PPDS does planning, if planners forget to input the maintenance data, system by default looks at plant maintenance order and considers that time as downtime and plans and schedules accordingly. This is what the output we expect. That I'll show. Colors, plant maintenance, block planning. Yeah, these three is pending that I have to show, and with the standard reports that we have in PPT. So that will be next Sunday, because block planning again I have to create a lot of data. These days, Monday to Friday, I'm flat out. It's still office till 10 o'clock. I'm not finding time to create data. And in every batch, I don't create data. Data is there because this system is a brand new system that we installed. There is no data. I have to create master data for every scenario. Yeah, that's why I need time. Okay, so now other thing is interchangeability. I'll open two systems. One is APO and the other one is this is APO system and this is HANA. There is some maybe it could solve using node correction, but I don't know. I don't know which node correction. If you go to SAP only, we'll know. If you go to advanced planning here, and if you go to product, not here. See, this one I never teach. You guys know, because someone in the demo came and asked for this, and I agreed, and then she did not join at all. Anyway, I committed, so I have to show. So product and location interchangeability, supersession change is what we are worried about. The problem here is, say for example, I create a supersession chain, and I'll do it in APO system also. I'm just trying to show you that both are same. So I'll make this work in APO because it's already set up. Here we cannot do. Why? I'll show you in a minute. Think that I'll say F inter is my group, supersession chain only. Okay, because rest are, like I said, it's all copy and paste. It's all for GATP. They have left it like this. In APO, what we do, we use location substitution and all for GATP. Like in SNP, I showed you there are some fields they've just copied and pasted, but none of the things work. For planning and ATP, it's only supersession chain. Okay, so group description is F interchangeability. I'm in HANA system now. Okay, hit enter. See here. External number range is not defined, and it says go to all these things, and it says that click on number ranges. So let me go to SNUM here. Okay, SNUM. So this, if you're implementing interchangeability, you have to go to SAP and tell them that for this object, that is interchangeability, INCMT, interchangeability. I tried to do it, but I couldn't. See, if you go here and display, there's something called number ranges here. If you go to change, yeah, there's something called number ranges. So that is not there at all. See, you can, even though I managed to give all the number ranges, everything, it's actually not reading it all. Where is that? Yeah, see, I have actually maintained. See, I've maintained for alphanumeric 1, for everything I've maintained, but still it doesn't read because it is not seeing that number range. Whereas I go to APO. Okay, I'm in APO system now. Same transaction, SNUM. See, directly There's an icon called number ranges. It's reading. So that's the problem. Rest are same. Everything is same. There is one icon missing in S4. Even though you go and somehow I went to shortcuts and created number ranges, it's not accepting it, or it's not allowing me to create a interchangeable. The same path what I just did, advanced planning and optimization. There it was advanced planning. Under master data, you have product and location interchangeability. See here, rule maintenance, right? So that's why in location interchangeability, it's related to GATP, RBA. The same thing they've copied in S4, even though it's not compatible yet. So here I create a group, exactly same screen, everything is same, there is nothing different. Here I'll create F inter, yeah, F interchangeability, whatever, change. Hit enter. See, nothing happens. There you get an error. It says to create an interchangeability, you need a number, but the number range is not defined. Is the error you get in S4. Okay, so that if you guys are implementing, make sure. So you can give the location directly here. You can insert and you can say in 1000. You all know what is interchangeability. It's just that you'll come to know now. For in this location, I want interchangeability. Okay, you go to header data and you say you create one, and then I'll use some product which we used in APO. Yeah, maybe class that we used, or maybe CTP we had, right? CTP. If you actually double click this, if you double, yeah, this is the best way because you get attributes also. Material number is, say, for example, CTP-FG1. I don't want to use this. Whenever a requirement comes for CTP-FG1, I want to use CTP-SFG1. Okay, then I go to attributes. In attributes, it says from when. I'll say from today, 03/2020. So here there is something called direction. Forward, then there is something called full. Forward is CTP-FG1 to CTP. Any requirement comes for predecessor product, PPDS will plan for the successor product. You know, in ECC, there's something called discontinuation and follow-up, exactly like that. So if you say full, I have never seen in my life where they use full. Full is nothing but if requirement comes for A, you should go to B. If the requirement comes for B, it should go to A. Both sides, interchangeability. Yeah, is what full is all about. And then use of strategy. Use of strategy is nothing but think that I have a stock of 100. So the requirement is a 120. So what it will do, it will consume that 100 and the 20 only will be interchanged. And if you say no, even though you have stock, it ignores. It goes and plans for. See, in DP we have life cycle management. We have all this what is that? Phase in, phase out. All are interlinked. Phase in, phase out. There is a car. It's get phased out, but I don't have anything to forecast. I go and see what is the sales invoice of that car A, and to produce car B, I want the history of car A, right? Because my car A is discontinued, follow based on what I do forecasting based on the forecast of car A. Yeah, so that is phase in, phase out. It's all DP in demand planning functionality. Okay, it's actually called. There's a functionality in DP.
Realignment?
No. Realignment is different. As in life cycle planning. In demand planning, there's something called life cycle planning. It's a life cycle. You know, life cycle is you invent, you start produce, you sell, you discontinue, the product dies. Again, a new product will be launched. So there's something called launch, expire, launch, something. So it's life cycle planning. Realignment is different. Realignment is, say, for example, you're selling product A to customer B. So tomorrow you want to sell the customer that product A to customer C. You don't want to use B at all, or a sales organization it's changing, or any CVC characteristics that you're changing. We realign. When we realign, it deletes all the, I told you customer A to B, right? The CVCs will get deleted of the old combination. That is realignment. Okay, so succeeding factor, this one can be 1. So 1:1. Okay. If you want to use, you have to give whatever. See, you have stock. If you say yes, it will use up everything. But if you have certain date, it can use only my receipts, which is till certain date. Then it will be restricted. See, this use up date will come. So I say use up everything which is till 10th of April. 11th of April, if there is anything, don't touch it. It's too old. I want to discontinue this. So I want to use it only till 10th of April. If you have a date, it should be restricted. Or else, if you say yes, whatever you have, it will be consuming it. So it will never go to the follow product. If you have done this, this is 1:1. Huh? If you give 2, it will be, if a demand is of 100, it will give a planned order for 200 if it is 2. Okay, so that is the factor. You save this, and then there are a couple of things that you have to do. You have to go to model assignment, and you have to make sure that the model 000, which is our active model, is linked to this. Okay, and save this. And then you have to release this, or else, see, the status should be released, or else it doesn't work. So we go to RRP3. It was CTP-FGP. Why this? No problem. We'll give some demand, say 500. I know that I've told that I want this from 23rd, right? So let me give a date outside that. 03/2000. So the moment I give, I should get a message like this: product CTP-18 location 1000 is no longer valid at that time. Okay, means that it is looking at that because it's not valid. It's discontinued, right? It still takes it. I go and create a I run plan. So the output should be, see, 2 things. Why? This is before, the requirement is before. That's why it is creating a planned order. Okay, but for this requirement, which is outside the 23rd, it is creating a substitution order. Okay, I think I saved that substitution order. No, not here. Double click the substitution order. The substitution order, it's for CSFG1s. Yeah, this is substitution requirement. So whenever any requirement comes for, don't worry about all this. Huh? These are all was created before for our scenario. I just took one product, that's all. So any requirement that comes for the predecessor product, creates a substitution. See, there it's substitution order. Here it's a requirement. So I have a demand for that, but it creates a planned order for. So this is product interchangeability based on validity dates, based on direction, the predecessor to successor, successor to predecessor. You can use up the stock, and you can actually do it. And you can also give a ratio 1:2. If the requirement is 1000, then if it is factor is 2, then a 2000 planned order will be created for the successor product, which is this. Everything looks green, fine, all works now. Try to practice all this and tell me next week whatever I showed you today works. Each topic is very complex. If you practice 3-4 times with full set of data only, then you'll be very thorough. Okay. See, I actually did not run through this. I only created master data and kept. Subcontracting I ran through because that is sometimes tricky. So I know what checks needs to be given, what master data, everything, because of the patches that I take. So because everything is working first time, don't think it's all easy. You guys have to practice a lot to be thorough in this. Okay, so practice this. If you're practicing interchangeability, put some planned orders for a product A and go and give use up, and you see whatever I've said. If it doesn't work, let me know in the next session. Yeah, direction, like A to B and B to A, everything works. Okay, you guys are very nice. Some guys have actually challenged me while taking the session in interchangeability to see. This was in GATP, not in PPDS. I only introduced. So in GATP, I show all those A to B, B to C, the full directions. Everything works because this is actually GATP, not PPDS. PPDS, why? Because you do planning in PPDS. Actually, I can call this SNP also. Even SNP considers this. When you run SNP heuristic, it actually creates the same thing. So, the output of substitution and substitution requirement, SNP creates SNP planned orders. So it can be used in both SNP and PPDS, but it doesn't belong to SNP and PPDS. It belongs to GAT. Okay. So any doubts on this, guys? I know it's been a long session today.
So here, we'll have one question. So if you run product heuristic now on this SFG1, it will create a plan order, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, just.
See, it gave 2 times because one for the dependent demand and this one for.
Yes, makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, everything is logical, and all these requirements will come when you go for an implementation. I don't think we've covered so much in depth. You guys should be able to manage every requirement. Like we spoke about cost, we spoke about times, we spoke about various scenarios. It was not like you go to Siemens where they show you some heuristics and give you a big book and send. Here we have done simulation based on specific scenarios. Yeah. So my apologies, I couldn't finish it early. Normally I don't take 2 months. I normally do it in 6 weeks, but this time it went on for 2 months. But anyway, so next week we'll catch up. Another 3 hours easily. Block planning, whatever I committed, I'll show into. Okay. And other thing is, someone actually told me that they have S4 HANA study material. Is that person in the batch today? I forgot the name. In fact, does anyone have S4 HANA study material from SAP? Okay. Because I remember someone telling me, no problem. Because I thought it will help everybody, so that we can share it with everyone. But Shriram has something called cookbook or something. We'll send it to you guys anyway. And from my side, I'll send the SCM 250, which is also Siemens material. But the delta between PPDS and S4 cookbook may not have everything. So I know SAP Metal has few things. If I find out, I'll send it to everybody. Okay.
So, and one request, I know you did not commit to it. Just maybe you can share the functional theoretical update, which is campaign planning. I know it's not relevant,
Mm.
but there is I always hear campaign planning as a functionality used by some paint companies and all, but I really
Yeah.
never know what it was.
Yeah, no problem. See, next week we do block planning, right?
Yes.
After block planning was introduced, nobody uses campaign. So campaign planning is nothing but block planning. Campaign planning, you create campaigns in certain periods. The same
Oh,
thing we do in block planning.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So next week you'll know what exactly is campaign. Because I don't show, but block planning, when
Sure.
you learn, you know what is campaign.
Sure. Definitely. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.